Moses is a shepherd in exile, an elderly man who fled Pharaoh years before. He carries a heavy past, a staff, and the quiet of decades tending flocks under a harsh sky. God appears not as a man, but as a burning, holy flame that does not consume the bush. The presence is bright, commanding, and accompanied by a voice that will change history. As Moses leads his flock near Mount Horeb, he sees a bush ablaze yet untouched. He is curious and cautious because in that land, fire often signals danger. He will draw closer to understand what he sees. In that moment, a voice calls his name, Moses. He replies, "Here I am." Hearing God speak his name in the wilderness is a shocking intimacy that unsettles him and yet draws him forward. As Moses steps nearer, God says he has seen the suffering of Israel in Egypt. He announces that he will send Moses to Pharaoh to lead the people out. This is a divine mission rooted in covenant compassion, not mere politics. But Moses objects. He reminds God of his past. He fled murder and feels inadequate. He says, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh?" This protest reveals his fear and a sense of broken identity. In response, God does not argue Moses into courage. He promises presence. "I will be with you." This is the core of the calling. Divine help, not just a mandate, is the reason Moses must go. Then Moses asks the decisive question, "If I go, what name shall I say brought me?" He seeks authority and identity for the mission. In that culture, a name carries character and power. God answers with a name that reveals character. "I am who I am." He gives a form of his name that declares eternal, self-existent presence. This explains why Israel can trust a rescue rooted in divine being. As Moses hears this, God ties the name to Israel's history. He says, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." By invoking the fathers, God roots the promise in covenant memory. Then God explains that he has seen his people's affliction and will free them, bringing them to a land flowing with milk and honey. This promise is not only political deliverance, but reaffirmation of God's covenant fidelity. As the promise unfolds, Moses raises a practical worry. What if they do not believe me? He needs not only courage, but credible signs. In that culture, signs confirmed divine authority. In answer, God instructs Moses to throw down his staff. It becomes a serpent, then returns to a staff. This visible wonder is meant to convince Israel, and to show that God empowers the messenger, not Moses' pedigree. As a second proof, God tells Moses to put his hand into his cloak. It becomes diseased and then healed. This sign symbolizes God's power over life and death, and serves as a pledge that miracles will accompany the mission. Still, Moses protests that he is slow of speech. God answers that Moses will not go alone. He names Aaron, Moses' brother, who will be his spokesman. This solves the practical obstacle of communication and forms a team. God also tells Moses the truth about Pharaoh. He will resist and persecute. The mission will involve confrontation and delay. Yet God predicts that the people will finally leave with great possessions, demonstrating that God's justice will prevail. When Moses hears these assurances and signs, he accepts the daunting call, though reluctantly. He is convoked from exile to leadership by a promise of presence, power, and covenant faithfulness. As the light fades, Moses gathers his staff and returns to the flock to prepare. The calling will require him to confront not only Pharaoh, but his own past. The mission begins with small, practical steps. In the aftermath, the episode leaves a clear theological imprint. God is the self-existent one who remembers covenant promises. Moses' call is proof that God acts through flawed human agents to fulfill ancient vows. This encounter teaches that a calling begins with presence, not competence. Exodus chapter 3 shows God identifying himself as the Eternal One and commissioning flawed leaders by promise and sign. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe to the channel and tap the bell so you do not miss the next one.